Hello. I hope we can keep your attention before you get to break for a proper lunch soon. I promise we'll make you hungry for debate. Hi, Melissa. I think if we could get started, ladies and gentlemen, that way, it's my polite way of saying that keeps you on track, really, to get a nice lunch and a cup of coffee soon as everyone's energy levels are tested by these long days, but we very much appreciate having you with us, and I'm very happy to be introducing Melissa Wernicke, who is Chief People Officer at the Kraft Heinz company, a small undertaking with a few employees, but who has been through really so many cycles of figuring out what change in the workplace means for really big workforces, really big and complex international companies. So that's really where I'm going to start with you today. Kraft Heinz is very well known for driving transformation. It's very much changed, I think, in the last years. Obviously, the clue's in the name. You've been through that massive merger, which many thousands of words have been written about. And at the same time, I get the impression that you don't just see your mission as to sort of make that work, like the chief company mechanic. You want to bring some transformation to it. So tell us a little bit about that to get us going.
Very good. So thanks for having me here today, talking a little bit about something that I am very proud about, and we are all very proud about. As you stated, I think Kraft Heinz started in 2015 when we merged the two global icons, and we like to say that we are still in the middle of a transformation, and we are driving this transformation from inside the company with a big focus on getting closer and closer and closer to the consumer. Consumer habits are changing so fast, and if we, blink, they change, and we need to be always playing catch up. We want to play offense on that, but I think the most important thing for us is exactly strengthening our people and our culture. And our transformation, I would say the second cycle of the transformation started with agile principles and digital solutions. And we want to transform not only the company, but we want to transform the industry. We are ambitious people, so transforming only the company didn't look that ambitious. So we say, look, let's transform the industry. And, HR is not an island, so we are trying to transform HR as well, bringing agility, bringing digital solutions to the area. And what I'm most proud about is the transformation that we did in learning and development. That's something that I'm very glad that we started this before the pandemic, because while people, they were trying to catch up with learning when everything became remote, we were ahead of the curve. So I'm really proud about that.
And you proclaimed 2022 as the year of the manager. So I wonder if that was a preliminary to being manager of the year. But year of the manager seems to suggest, I don't want to say that, that there's never been a year in which management was important, but I think you had some reasons for that, probably coming out of the pandemic and other factors.
Yes, leadership changed a lot in the last 2 years, but that was an input for us proclaiming this year the year of the manager. But there was a fact, in fact, there was a number that I saw that still keeps me awake at night. That's one, it's in statistics from Gallup, that 1 out of 10 people is naturally wired to be a manager. 1 out of 10. So what do we do with the other 9? That are not naturally wired to be a manager. And he said, look, we have to do something. And on top of the changes with the pandemic, war, and leaders now managing teams that are hybrid or fully remote, we needed to really help them to become the better versions of themselves. So since we proclaimed it, more than 1,000 people went through our program. That is, I would say, a combination of some in-person learning, but on the go, and some very interesting platforms that we brought for the company. And we learned from 92% of our managers, they said that they wanted to be better coaches. And when we were doing a research on Google's Project Oxygen, that is well known, and people talked about that a lot. Coaching was the key element, or the element number one, to make a manager a better manager. And we implemented a lot of activities in the company to really transform our managers in coaches, okay? And I would like just to give 2 examples to highlight. There's a very interesting platform that's called Ezra. That's a mobile app, that basically is coaching on the go, and people used to say, a coaching, you need a formal meeting, a formal interaction, in person, schedule. And we proved with this partnership that it's not necessarily in order for you to have a session that is helpful for you when you need it. So if you have a meeting with your boss now, and you need a tip or an advice on how to tackle a specific topic, you contact your coach right away, you do a FaceTime, and it's done, And we partner with this platform when they basically had a business case on a piece of paper, I won't say that was a napkin, it was a little bit more evolved than that, but we worked.
I'd like to think it was at an event like this, and that The Economist was hosting, and there it was.
We were
all the great ideas.
We were customer number 1, and we vetted the coaches, and the app, you put the parameters of, the characteristics that you want to find in a coach, so the app suggests to the coach, and then you test and you go. So it was really, really, really interesting. The results have been really, really helpful, just to give one example.
So I understand the changing of that kind of pattern preparation technology, but I'm wondering whether the definition of being a great manager and ultimately a great leader has changed in these past few years, or whether you're still trying to deliver the same thing at greater scale with different methods.
Look, I think it's something that everybody has in top of their minds. It's a fluid concept, and I think, yes, leadership changed over the years. For us, I think it's very important. We have basically 3 leadership principles, okay? We want to keep it simple. You could, find 300 million definitions of leadership, and we wanted to keep it simple. So for us, leader is someone who delivers results, working as a team, inspiring excellence, and navigating the future, And there are each of those principles. They have some characteristics that are very important, and they make it tangible to the leader what is expected from him or for her. And you were talking about change, so I'll take advantage of your question, just to match what changed. People talk a lot about changes, and people talk about the pandemic, the war. Of course, those are, there's no playbook for that. You cannot say that we learn how to deal with a pandemic at school, or we learn how to deal with a war at school. We did not. So all of us here that are HR professionals, we learn we went through that. But there's a very interesting fact, so just to explore a different angle of this conversation. It's the first time that we have 5 generations in the workforce. 5 generations.
Gosh. That's interesting. Can I just stop you and say, how many people would have kind of known that or thought about that? Smart people. I thought, that's why we like coming in. That's very interesting. I had not thought that through, that longevity, but also people staying in work longer. But tell me what it signifies.
And look, I would say that especially the last 2 generations, with all the advancements in technology, they changed a lot. If you go to baby boomers to Gen Xers, not a lot of change, or Gen X to Gen Y, not a lot of change. But if you get millennials, and the Gen Z, there's a lot of change. Gen Zers, the oldest ones, had an iPad or had contact with an iPad when they were 13. 13. They were the first ones who had full access to affordable internet. And that is mind-blowing, because if you go to the traditional ways of teaching leadership with this group, it won't work. So you have to change the way you talk to them. You have to change the way you deliver content. So when we're talking about learning and development, we decide to go away from the bricks structure to go more to a clicks structure, exactly to provide that, to provide learning on the go. If you know, and we really wanted to democratize learning, because we tend to think that leadership is something that we have to provide only to people who are people managers. No, if you don't start with the Gen Zers that are joining the workforce as individual contributors and we start to prepare them for the future, not necessarily you have the great leaders that you want to have, and that's something that we are very, very, very obsessed with, and how to change the conversation with this new generation. So that's what I think changed a lot for the leaders,
And this, you talk about bricks to clicks there, but we're also in a world where the clicks are taking place in a different environment, hybrid working, remote working models. Sort of mixes what some people mean by that can be very different from what someone else means by that, whether it's the 3-day office, or we had a lot of those arguments about, is it 3 days, is that a Wednesday, or can I, and then you've got a lot of companies are like, well, we don't really care, or we can afford to organise it in a way that's much more free-flowing. So tell me a bit more about whether the definition of hybrid itself is under more challenge than perhaps we thought when people sent out memos saying you could be off on work from home on a Friday, and needed to be off, terrible, work from home on a Friday, but now that would seem almost previous.
And look, and hybrid people, they exactly what you said. They said, look, it's a specific number of days. And look, there is one thing that's very important for us that, and let me use the angle of learning to get to the hybrid. That's exactly democratizing learning, And that for me was very important. Growing up in Brazil, I wanted, as a curious kid or a curious young adult, I wanted to have, I remember going to the library trying to find articles of the world most respected thinkers, or, the first time that I got contact with, Harvard Business School case methodology, I wanted to find all those cases, and they weren't available. They just weren't available, and I was curious, and I wanted to have access to that. I was dreaming about the day that I would be able to attend a program on a, well-known top-tier university. It just wasn't there. My high school didn't have clubs. My college didn't have clubs. Of course, now with the internet, you have all of that available. It's almost we went to the other extreme of having too much. So curation and real-time curation is very important. So for me, when we talk about the hybrid, it's that, I am waiting for, my airplane in the airport, and I'm bored. So I want to learn about, what hybrid means, or what changed in leadership. And I have access to that. Or I want to join a meeting with someone, I have access to that. And I think that's the future. I was talking about our platform of learning. I had a dream. I wanted it to be the Netflix of learning. So the previous group was talking about artificial intelligence. That can be magical. So if you put what you're interested at in the platform, and as you take courses, the platform starts making suggestions for you. That's amazing, because that's real-time curation. So that's you having access to everything that's going on at real time according to your curiosity and your willingness to learn, not waiting someone to babysit you or to nominate you for a program that may never exist.
When we talk about good leadership development, share a little bit about your own journey and what you found. I think people always like to know when they see someone who's obviously changing the way that leadership development works, is what was your own experience and what did you like or didn't like that drove you to think the way you do?
Look, I think first is curiosity. That's something that I have never waited someone to do something for me, because I think I have to own my own development. And talking about statistics again, there is another one that is scary, that if we do nothing, in 5 years we will be obsolete. 5. That's 20% a year. That's a lot, So that's what I try to do with the other generations as well, to spark this curiosity, to spark, that you have to go find your beliefs or things that are important for you. And that was my journey, I wasn't, I could have sat for, a square of what was expected for me, be in my hometown, my entire life. I wanted something different, and I had mentors who, worked as a team, inspired excellence, and navigate the future, because they knew what would, or they tried to predict what would happen in the future, and that's what, I try. Those are the principles that I try to live by, and that's what I try, to inspire this new generation to come. Sometimes they come with, what's my career plan? Or what's my career trajectory? Or what do I need to do in order to become the CEO? And my answer to them is like, I don't know, and I cannot tell you that, because it wasn't required for a CEO today. It's completely different than what will be required 5 years from now. So I said, look, be curious, be open to the new. Stretch yourself, find new assignments, go for it. Don't allow anyone to plan your life for you. You will stay 2 years in this position, then 3 years in this position, then 5 years in that position. No, life is no longer linear like that. Maybe it was like that in the past, but today it's not.
You remind me of, I worked for a lot of years, I have to say, obviously not The Economist, at a slightly financially shaky newspaper, where I was, very young and wanted to eventually become editor. And my husband gave me a reality check. He said, Anne, the day you become editor will be the day that the paper closes. and lo and behold, I could sort of see it going like, and I realized that I had, I'd wedded myself to this sort of dream, and I absolutely needed to pivot and go work somewhere else. But it's amazing how long sometimes it can take you, if you get into a track, to get out of that. God, I'd say that. You talked about the year of the manager. I suppose what does it make next year? Have we thought about that yet?
Continues to be the year of the manager, because that's a continuous journey. We have just launched 8 months ago another partnership that I'm very excited about to make the manager life easier. That is exactly, those are nudges or snackable advices that you receive, in the middle of your meetings. And it's fascinating. It's a company called Homo. The founder is the former CHRO of Google, and I think what they're building is fascinating. That's exactly AI-driven. And if you are a manager that needs support on a specific topic or in a specific category, you will receive nudges related to that, and they are very snackable. They are short. They are, and I remember since the day that we implemented the partnership, I was on a Zoom meeting, and then with my team, and then I received a nudge. And I applied right away. It was fascinating because, I didn't have to read or to think it was just there on my screen, on the side, the upper side of my screen. And I was in the middle of a meeting and I said, I can do that right now. And the result was really, 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 very, very powerful. And 86% of the managers that we have engaged in this platform, they are heavily engaged. So it's not that we have been into this for 8 months. It's not that, it was just, they loved that in the beginning and they are no longer using that. They are still using that. So 2023 is still the year of the manager. There is still a lot of transformation going on. And we are trying to tell our managers that they needed to meet the generations where they are. And they needed to pivot. There's no one-size-fits-all anymore. They have to pivot their speech to the generation that they are talking to. Last example, because I know that we are on time. We implemented an Microsoft Excel training with a TikToker. And it was amazing. And look, I need to confess, I was against it. In the beginning, I was very skeptical, and I said, "It won't work. It's a tool. How are you going to teach Microsoft Excel with a TikToker?" And my team convinced me, and I said, okay, try, go for it. She has been back 3 times already. It's the highest satisfaction score that we have on a training. Her name, if you want to try, is Miss Excel. I don't receive participation on her fees or anything. It's just that, it's really, and it's TikTok. She's an influencer. She's a TikToker. And we are teaching Excel TikTok style. And that's it.
You can do that, then you can have a bit of a cat video and a bit of a boy band. So the all-over TikTok experience. Melissa, you've been fantastic. I think you've raced us round how to focus on becoming better managers and just better at all our business, and our business is our people. Yes. In record time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.